Hey guys, welcome back to Comicpalooza Presents. I'm Erica from Raging Nerds and Gaming Trend Podcast. Today, our panel is voice actor exclusive with John Swasey. How hard is it to switch back and forth between voices?
Well, that's a funny question. I've only done a number of shows where I've actually had to play against myself. And that was kind of in the early, we didn't have as many actors doing this. So it'd be like, well, could you play Dr. A and Dr. B? Like, sure, I can. But, when we are working on a show and the first thing we do is we develop the voice. And the way we do that, the way I is I listen to Japanese actors done because they're really the ones that have created the character in a vocal styling. And then so I want to kind of match what they're doing on an emotional level, on a range level, and then of course listen to my director and go with that. But a lot of times it'll take us 10, 20, maybe longer. 30 minutes to actually find the voice. You know what I mean? I remember when I was doing Soul Eater and I had come into audition and they said you were going to be auditioning for this character named Lord Death. Well, I had been doing Crocodile in One Piece and, some pretty heavy characters. And so I thought, without knowing the show, I just thought, Lord Death, he's going to have this just. And I went in and did it, and Zach, the director's like, no. Listen to the Japanese. And it was way up here like this. And so we went down that path. Well, I ended up getting the part. And then while we were recording, we were probably 30 minutes into the session, and Zach stopped me, and he goes, hey, where your voice is right now, that's where I want it to be. So let's start over. Go back to the beginning and redo those first lines, which we did, just so we could kind of match. A lot of times when you hear voices like a Homer Simpson of The Simpsons, for instance, of what Homer sounds like, it's nothing like what he sounds like now.
Right.
It's close. It's a huge difference. So for me, switching between different voices, fortunately, I don't have to do it on the fly. We develop that voice, and then we always keep a vocal reference. So we always, if I record a couple of episodes and then come back a few weeks later, I'm like, can I hear what I did before so I can get back into the zone, if you will,
Yes. Are there any other methods that you use to get into a character? You're going to an audition and you're like, I want to see what voice this character has. Is there any other methods that you use?
Oh, sure. It's a great question. As an actor, we have to draw upon our experiences, and we have to do as much research as we possibly can about a role, about the show, about the director. Any information we can get is good, valuable information, good intel. And, if you can watch other shows that director's done. Now, I will say, that's if you're going for a really juicy role. If you're going in, you can pretty much go in and play Soldier B. You don't need to, it's all about Soldier B. No, not really. It's just go in and do your lines. But when it comes to a really meaty role, a really juicy role, you want to do as much research as you can. There's no shortage of research you can do. But, just like with anything, the more prepared you are going in, the better off you're going to be, and the more solid footing you're going to have.
I know that you've done anime, but you've also done video games, and you've been on Borderlands. So what's the difference between anime, video games? What's that process like?
Wow, the process is completely different. When you go in to do anime, we're dubbing. We're doing ADR, which is a dubbing term, audio dialogue replacement. And so you do it line by line. When you go in to do video games, they've got all of your lines listed out and all of your efforts, and you literally just go for it because it's all what we call prelay, meaning we're recording the English and then they're going to animate around it. Now, there's some games like the My Hero game that just came out where we're actually doing more of the ADR process, where we listen to the Japanese and we get a sense of the timing, and then we say the English equivalent line and try to get it in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it's not matching lip flaps, you're just trying to get the timing right.
Yes.
So it could be like blah 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 blah, and then you want to come out and go, all right, all might, I've had just about enough of you, or something like that. And then so that still moves pretty quickly. So in the process is so different though. In dubbing, we try to do between 30 to 60 lines an hour, 60 cues an hour.
Mm-hmm.
In the video game world, you can do about 200 an hour. So it moves a lot quicker.
It seems like it.
It also rags your throat out because there's all, for every line, there's also an attack or a die. So it's like, so you do a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it really,
I've always wondered, do you guys record the sound actions separately from the voice acting?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And we usually save that to the end of the session.
Okay.
So when I'm doing All for One and recording the video game, I'm doing all of my lines, and then at the very end of the session, that's when we do all the attacks and all that, because that's really what rags out your voice.
Yes.
It's all that,
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely want to. If you did that first, you'd be worthless.
Are there any roles that you regret taking?
No.
Good.
No. You mean in any of it, video game or anime?
Mm-hmm.
No, not a one. Not a one. I mean, I've done some, just as the nature of anime, I've done some stuff that I, wouldn't let my 12-year-old kid watch. But because, as you know, anime spans from Hello Kitty up to violent R-rated movies,
Yes.
And so there's some stuff that it's not that I'm ashamed I did it or I wouldn't have done it again. It's just, it's more adult material.
Now, to close us off, do you have any interesting stories to tell us?
Erica, I've got a million of them, but I can only share one with you right now. So
okay.
That is when, one of the big parts of our industry is things like Comicpalooza and other comic cons and anime cons. And, when I started doing this in 97, there might be 2 or 3 conventions somewhere a month. Now there's 6 or 7 a week all over the world. So the voice actors are sort of treated as stars, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So if I get invited to a convention in, say, Sulphur, Louisiana, my wife says, go have fun. But if I get invited to one in, say, Dublin, Ireland, she says, here are my bags, which I understand. Now, looking at you, I see you've got a headset on there.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have to take them off, but if you were to take your headphone off and look at the inside foam of that right side of your earpiece there, that piece of foam knows more about anime than my wife does.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I get invited to Dublin, Ireland, and I take her with me. And we're on the plane having a nice glass of wine, flying over the Atlantic Ocean, and I blurt out something I'll regret for the rest of my life. But I said, hey, listen, I'm just going to tell you, because I know you've never really been to a convention before, but in the world of anime, I'm kind of a big deal. And she was like, you're what? I said, I'm just saying, that's why we get invited to conventions. That's why the actors go. That's why you're going to Ireland. She went, whatever. So we get to Ireland, get off the plane, get our luggage, go through customs, come into the lobby of the airport, and there's like 5 or 6 people with signs holding them up going, we love you, John Swasey. We're so glad you're here. Yay. And my wife is like, oh my God. And I said, I tried to tell you. So later that day, we're with, how when you're at a convention, we get a handler or a liaison to make sure we get from our different panels and whatnot on time and everything. And I'll never forget this. My wife is talking to our lovely assistant, Sinead, who was just delightful. And she goes, "You're so lucky." And she's talking to my wife, and my wife's like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, you're married to John Swasey." And my wife said, "So?" She goes, "Well, I mean, you get to be with him all the time. You get to laugh with him, cry with him." And my wife, without missing a beat, goes, "Yeah, he's no big deal." Game, set, match to my wife, who I love dearly. So, anyway.
That's amazing. Thank you, John, for this conversation today. Again, this is Comicpalooza Presents. Please continue the discussion below in the comments. Like, subscribe, and remember to ring that bell.